And it's insane to me that because he's going along and supporting these deportation efforts, that the Trump administration is like, oh, yeah, no, don't worry. It's okay when people who go along with us accept bribes. But anytime
Well,
anyone else does, we're not okay with it. It's just ridiculous.
I thought it was crazy when he showed up at Trump's inauguration, all of a sudden favored, honored guest at the inauguration. I'm a pretty conservative guy, but there are a lot of things I don't like about what Trump does and what's going on in the administration. Welcome to Silberman Law Firm's Weekly Docket, episode 57, where we talk legal news and practical law. Today is February 13th, 2025, and I'm Phil Silberman, owner of the firm and your host. And I'm joined by Austin Black, my co-host, who works in our Dallas office. What is going on, Mr. Black?
Just had another trial continued and just chugging along with all this litigation. Everyone wants to sue everyone nowadays, so business is good.
Yeah, tell me about the cardboard that you sold for $300.
Oh yeah, it's a Magic the Gathering card. You heard about that?
Never heard of it.
So the most expensive one of those has gone a card from that card game. It's gone for I think over 3 million. So this is
okay.
nothing in comparison to that, but
This is some sort of trading card or
yeah.
playing card.
It's just similar Pokemon cards, right? It's all like aged like that. So yeah,
You
like
you taught us
Antiques
something new.
Roadshow. You know that old
Yes,
show?
yeah.
People would show up with like old Magic cards on there every once in a while. Yeah, it's a thing.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a piece of Americana.
The older ones are, yeah, that's right.
And where did you get this thing?
I got it from a pack that I opened for fun. And it's like I paid $30 for it and got a 10x return. So
That's a good return. I wish I could get those kinds of returns. That's just fantasy land.
yeah,
But-
yeah.
Okay, what is on our docket today, Mr. Black?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of legal news today. First, starting off with Kanye West attempting to get people to buy t-shirts with swastikas on it and from the Super Bowl. Then moving on to Trump ordering the Treasury to stop making pennies. And Democrats are very upset about this. They've held their pennies very close to their chests all of a sudden. And then a student has sued their school district because they graduated without being able to read, completely illiterate. And then Sean Diddy Combs has sued NBC and the Peacock Network for defamation, which we both find quite amusing. Can you be so defamed that you can't continue to be defamed anymore? You can't get worse in your reputation? Maybe. We'll talk about it. Then we will discuss the Department of Justice dropping their corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams because he's all buddy with Trump now. And then a judge has lifted a freeze on the federal employee buyout program. We discussed this a couple weeks back, I believe, talking about how Trump was trying to reclassify some federal employees to fire them and not have their jobs be property rights. This is similar to that. We'll be going over it and then moving forward from there.
There's just so much legal news. I
A
mean,
lot.
this is a little different than our normal format where we answer some legal questions and we have a rant and rave section. But this week, last week, just so much legal news. So we're just going to do a legal news blitz.
There will be enough ranting and raving as a part of the legal news.
I'm sure there will. All right, let's get it kick-started with our legal news section, which is our only section for this show. And we're talking about Kanye West's controversial Super Bowl advertisement. So I just heard about this. Apparently, there are two types of Super Bowl advertisements, Austin. There's a national where you show them to the whole country. And this year that cost $8 million.
Wow.
And then there's the regional where if you saw in Houston, we kept seeing this plaintiff's attorney come up, but you can buy like regional 15-second ads, maybe even a little longer. Those are about $1 million.
Wow.
And the regional advertisements have less scrutiny than the national advertisements, as you can imagine, because the big national Fox or whoever's vetting this thing, they're in charge of vetting these national commercial Super Bowl advertisements, and they don't want anything bad to be on there. The local people, like your local Houston, local Los Angeles, whatever, they're probably not as sophisticated or as stringent as doing the vetting. So What Kanye did was essentially he's sitting in a dentist chair. It's a very sort of user-generated type content, something benign in a dentist chair, and he tells people to go to his Kanye West Yeezy website or whatever it is, and they go to the website and they're only selling one product that day, and it's a swastika. It's a T-shirt with a swastika on it, right? People flip out. Shopify takes the site down. Everyone's, how could you possibly miss that? And he was really clever about it. Kanye was really clever about it. At the time he submitted the advertisement for review, he had the site doing normal stuff, like selling normal products. And then right when he advertised it, he was like, surprise, it's only going to sell a T-shirt with a swastika on it. Okay. That's how that happened. Are you offended by that? So
Am I offended by that? I'm not personally offended by it. I think it's inappropriate. I'm just not personally offended by it. So
okay. In the United States, you are allowed to display a swastika. It's certainly in poor taste, but we value First Amendment rights. And as a person, a Jewish person with a Jewish background, I am a proponent of free speech. You want to display a swastika, that's your shtick. I'm not saying I agree with it, but go do it. We do have an interesting case. There were the neo-Nazis wanted to do a march displaying swastikas in a Jewish suburb in Chicago. I think it was Skokie. Went up to the court, basically said, First Amendment, the neo-Nazis can absolutely display a swastika. But they ended up not going forward with the march for whatever reason. But yeah.
Probably because they would get attacked. You can display stuff all you want, but the consequences resulting therefrom might not be great. So
yeah. Kanye's crazy. There's all kinds of commentary on, at one point he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and maybe
he has to be bipolar. Yeah.
Maybe he's autistic. Yeah, whatever.
Just posting blatant pornography on his Twitter this week too.
He's just a shock.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Everyone's, what is going on? And that was not even the strangest thing he posted on Twitter this last week, to be honest.
Here's the legal angle on this piece.
Okay.
We've got a list of countries where swastikas are illegal or legal. The United States, obviously, very much legal. You want to display a swastika. Yeah. Let's go through some of these countries. What about Brazil, Austin?
Brazil, you are imprisoned or have a fine assessed against you if you display a swastika.
Yeah, that one's interesting to me because a lot of Nazis ran and hid in Brazil and Argentina. And one of the most famous ones is this Yusuf Mengele. He was the angel of death. He was that doctor at Auschwitz that would famously do horrific things against twins. Terrible guy, awful. He fled to Brazil at one point, and then he was in Argentina. He died in 1979 while swimming, died of a heart attack, but angel of death, terrible guy. And Brazil kind of understands all of that history.
Yeah.
That's why they're so hard on swastikas in Brazil. And by the way, anytime I see a German name and it's like a really white German person and they're from Argentina or Brazil, I automatically think their family were Nazis. So that's just a side note.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
China.
Yeah.
In China, there was a law passed in 2018. You cannot use the swastika or the Japanese rising sun flag. Also quite controversial in Korea. You have some fines assessed against you, and you can be imprisoned. So.
Yeah, and that's the Protection of Heroes and Martyrs law passed in 2018. They're pretty serious in China about stuff like that. They will just disappear you. Like you'll end up making Christmas lights in a Chinese prison. That's what will happen.
It's got to do it.
All right. Iran, this one's no surprise. Completely legal. It's okay to display swastikas. It's probably encouraged in Iran, as a matter of fact. So
yeah, maybe. I'm actually more surprised. I'm actually more surprised about that than you might think, because swastikas it originated as a Buddhist symbol, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's something to do with that.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that they would allow them with it being a very prominent like symbol in a different religion, but
Yeah, no, death to Israel. That's what
oh,
the
okay,
that's what the
this overrides
Iranians
it. Yeah,
that's what
got it.
the
Okay,
Iranians espouse, death to Israel.
okay.
All right. What's the next one?
Next one is Austria. Illegal to display, but you can trade memorabilia with a swastika on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is not always the case, but
yeah.
that one's then France, illegal, very
Unless
much
it's historical. Yes.
Yes, a lot of these have exceptions for historical
Mhm.
use or videos or films or whatever. There was a cool case that about Yahoo back in the day where Yahoo was auctioning off some memorabilia, Nazi memorabilia, and then their lawsuit was filed in France, and then France basically stopped it. So France is pretty serious about that. But I know this is the one you mentioned, Austin,
Yeah.
Germany.
Germany, yeah, it's illegal to display or distribute, even for historical reasons, right?
I don't know about that. I think there are exceptions for historical
Exceptions,
reasons.
okay.
Yeah.
But if
But
it's not for those reasons, you get a fine and a prison term of up to 3 years.
yeah, and I don't know how much that is enforced. Even I was in Germany a couple years ago, and we would go to all of these German antique places. And one time I was in an antique store, like a war antique store, and they had World War II stuff, a lot of World War I stuff, but no Nazi stuff. And we were just
Okay.
looking through there, and the owner of the store comes out, and he's, "Hey, I've got the good stuff in the back. Come back after the store closes, and I'll show you all the SS stuff and all that." So there is I don't know why I seem like the guy that wanted to look at that kind of stuff, but black market in Germany for that kind of stuff. Kanye's crazy. Yeah, here's my question for you. And I've really gotten into Silo on
Yeah.
Apple TV recently. And this was just so awesome because I'm able to now work in Silo to this. For our listeners who don't know what Silo is, it's an apocalyptic show that the world is no longer an inhabitable place. They make a bunch of silos underground. That's where people live now. And
You spoiled it, Phil, that it's a bunch of silos. We thought it was just one.
okay, I'm so sorry. And there are these things called relics, and these relics are just any object that existed a long time ago, probably when humans lived on Earth,
Oh,
when Earth was habitable. And you've got things like pictures of oceans and birds and
as
pet
dispenser.
Pez dispenser, right? And these are illegal items to possess, right? And then you have a red level relic, which is a hard drive that includes all, and it makes everyone in the silo want the stuff more and trade it more.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this a good thing? Is it not? Have we not learned a lesson from
Yeah.
Silo? And if you make something illegal, doesn't it just make you want it more?
Like I at least I hope people would have learned that lesson way before the event of Silo.
Right.
But yes, I think that's just a natural principle is that if you make
Yep.
something illegal, people are just going to want it more. That was the whole thing with when alcohol was outlawed, right? So it was still so easy to access, and it just it shifted revenue streams
Yeah.
from legal means to illegal means, and deprived legitimate business owners of more income. So yeah.
And then there was that tree, right?
Yeah.
So in the garden, the tree
Yes,
of knowledge
that
of
tree, yeah.
that tree. And it was like God told us just anything you want in the garden, but just don't eat from that tree. And of course,
Yeah.
what that's and all of a sudden it's the tree you want. It's like the red button. Don't push the red button, don't push the red button. So
Yeah.
maybe if we eased up a little bit on this Nazi stuff, okay, then we
Maybe.
wouldn't want all this stuff all the time. But who
Maybe.
knows? All right. That brings us to our next legal news topic.
Okay.
And we're talking about
Penny production.
penny
We're
production.
going to give you our 2 cents, or maybe tell you why we can't anymore give you our 2 cents because they're not going to be producing new pennies.
Yeah. So Trump basically told the U.S. Treasury to stop minting new pennies. But now that if you stop them, then aren't they going to become a collector's item and become more valuable?
Yeah,
So maybe you could.
maybe you just control the distribution, right? Like
Yeah.
you only start printing them when the value is like crazy high.
Yeah.
Because right now it costs approximately 3.7 cents to produce a singular penny. So if you waited for the value to go like to 3.8 cents, maybe you could do a few and then put it around there.
Yeah. So right now you've got a big negative return. What you spend 3.7 cents to produce a 1 cent penny.
Right.
Big time negative return. That's the point. This is more. I think this is just a political. Let's decrease government waste sort of thing.
Sure, I get that, but on just in terms of personal anecdotes, when was the last time you actually used coins in the U.S. to pay for something?
I very rarely use cash.
Right.
I was never. My brother-in-law, my wife's brother, he worked for this one company, and they had all these. They're the biggest ATM operator all over the world, and I would give him the hardest time about like, why do you really believe that cash is valuable? What are you doing? Cash is only used for what? Strippers, prostitutes, drugs. Who's using cash out or to pay like a housekeeper or a yard man illegally?
Or the tiny restaurants in Dallas, Koreatown that I go to
Yes, that's
that don't want to pay their taxes.
That's the tax gap. Do you really believe cash has a useful purpose?
The reason I asked that question is because
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend like 2 days ago about the penny thing, and I started to say I can't remember the last time I used coins to pay for something, but no, I actually can remember. It was when I was in Japan. It's because they have coins going up to the value of $10, basically.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and then also the society uses like cash much more than the US does. But also like you can use the coins to pay for the vending machines that are everywhere there.
Yeah. Europe, by the way, has euros have some
yeah.
higher dollar coins.
Euros do, yeah.
Which always make me a little nervous because I'm more likely to lose a coin than a bill. But
Yeah.
what's the legal? Can the president legally stop minting currency? What's our legal citation? What's the answer to that?
Not entirely certain, but probably requires congressional approval to implement it fully, because the Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the authority to coin money, not the president. They hold the power of the purse.
The inverse of that, if Congress has the ability to coin, then maybe they probably have the ability to also
stop coining.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Yes.
Hey, this might be the only bill, if this actually goes to Congress and they pass a bill, this could be the only one that passes unanimously with like perfect bipartisan support. Can you see any Democrat or Republican?
I don't think so.
The Democrats.
I think there will be people who vote against it just out of pure spite.
Okay. Or they're like, it's going to take jobs away because you're going to have
it's going to take jobs away from the people making the pennies. And then we're going to like see an expose in the New York Times about the poor penny makers who are out of a job now. They were getting paid in pennies and now they can't even make the things they were getting paid in. It's just so sad.
All right. Hey, let's talk about this. This is more interesting. This student, this kid, his name's William A. I guess he's maybe still a minor, or there's an anonymity component to this. William A.
I mean, he might have to be a minor with his education, right?
Yeah, of course. My 4-year-old could probably read better than this kid, but William A. is from Clarksville, Tennessee. That is a place northwest of Nashville, up near the Tennessee border. Have you heard of it? You've heard of it?
I have.
Yeah. Okay. You're like the one person who's heard of it. Sues the school district, Clarksville, Montgomery County school system, saying he graduated with a 3.4 GPA. That's actually a pretty good GPA.
Assuming he's not suing because he graduated with that GPA, right? That's how he's saying. Okay.
Assuming it's on a 4.0 scale, right?
Yeah. Assuming it's on a 4.0, yes.
Yeah. Towards the end of he couldn't read. Okay. Just say he couldn't read. He was basically illiterate. He could not, they gave him a test. He could not spell some basic words. He had some dyslexia and they didn't catch it. At one point, the counselor was like, you need to get this kid tested. He basically used ChatGPT and Grammarly during the last part of his high school career to get through. So he sues the school district, and interesting argument. He argues that the school district violated his due process clause by not providing him a proper education under the Individuals with Disability Act. You like it?
Yeah, I actually do like it. I think it's a really interesting argument.
You're entitled to an education. You were deprived of that. And guess what? The trial court, lower court agreed with him, awarded him, I don't know how they got to this number, 888 hours of compensatory education.
I think the judge just liked eights. I think that
he liked eight. Right. Can you believe the school district actually appealed this? Like, why?
Yes, I can. I can actually, because I look at school districts as public school districts as almost the ultimate waste of government resources.
Okay, so they're
Yep.
spending. They can't teach kids how to read.
Yeah, they can't teach them how to read, but they're going to hire attorneys who hopefully can
Right.
to continue to appeal this decision.
Yeah.
And it was upheld. It was upheld. So it didn't even work out.
Why don't you just give the kid his 888 compensatory hours? Why appeal
I
it?
guarantee you it was cheaper to give them the 888 hours
Than
of
to fight it.
compensatory education than to pay for the attorneys to do the
Yeah.
appeal. I guarantee.
You know, here's the interesting point about that, or here's what people are beating a drum about. This is indicative of a national problem that we're having with grade inflation.
Yeah.
The public schools are just passing kids through, they're inflating grades. There's no real rigor to the curriculum. The A doesn't mean what it used to be, and there's no real weight behind this high school diploma anymore. This has got to get fixed. In Texas, we talked a little bit about this the last show, or actually more than a little about it. Texas, the Senate has just passed a school voucher program for parents to use $10,000 for their kids to go to private school. So there are some things being done about it.
Interestingly enough, did you know that the majority of homeschoolers are against that?
No, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the program requires a lot more oversight
I
of
see.
what they're doing. And while that could be good for some, because there were definitely kids I grew up with who were like in my homeschooling thing who didn't do anything and probably were illiterate. But there are also quite a few who just wanted to have their own curriculum that was specific to like their needs and go along at their pace. And apparently this law would prohibit that in a lot of ways. So, yeah.
They don't have to take the money though, right? If you don't take the money, I assume you don't have to follow the regulations, but
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
I was just surprised because I talked to my mom after listening to it, and she said that a lot of people in Texas, at least a lot of homeschoolers in Texas, are opposed to it. Okay,
Next.
to Diddy.
yeah.
We are going on to Diddy, who is suing NBC and Peacock for defamation.
Okay. Not a lot to this. Did you see this documentary that Peacock made? I did not watch it, but Diddy, the name of the documentary is Diddy, the Making of a Bad Boy.
Phil, I will tell you, everything I have learned about Diddy has been against my will. Okay. I did not want to know anything about this guy. Before all this, I vaguely knew of him as some sort of person in the entertainment industry. I think he did some singing or something. I don't know. I didn't want to know. And then I just have this shoved down my throat by the media as I don't want this. I feel like I was personally violated by Diddy by having all this stuff in my brain.
So I'm assuming you did not watch the documentary.
No, I did not watch the documentary.
All right. Diddy is alleging that it included unsubstantiated allegations of sexual misconduct and other serious allegations
involving baby oil. Right?
Yeah, a lot of baby oil.
Yeah.
He asserts that the network aired these claims without any evidence, causing significant harm to his reputation.
Okay.
The core of this is a defamation lawsuit. We've talked a lot about defamation, Austin. What are the elements of defamation?
Publication of a statement. Then you have to identify the plaintiff, person who is bringing the lawsuit. That statement has to be defamatory. It could harm the reputation. There's a different standard for a public figure and a private individual, right? And so for Diddy, there would be that higher standard of the person publishing the statement of having actual malice in doing so, which is really hard to get to. Get to.
There was definitely a publication here. You aired a documentary on Peacock. You identified the plaintiff.
People watch Peacock, but you did air it somewhere where some people watched.
You aired the publication on Peacock. You named Diddy in the title, Diddy, the Making of a Bad Boy. But is it really defamatory? And here's the defamation component of this. You actually have to damage the reputation. You have to cause harm to the reputation. Yes. Can his reputation get any worse, Austin?
I don't think so. I really don't. I'm not sure. Again, because someone like me who actively tried to avoid this man and information about him, I know way more about him than I wanted to. And so I'm sure the people that are actually interested in this know more than that. No, I don't think his reputation can get worse than it is.
I think this is a terrible lawsuit. I think it goes nowhere. I think Diddy has way too much time on his hands in prison. I think he's waiting for his trial in May.
You think he's just
and
diddling his fingers?
diddling his fingers, and he's going to be tried in May. He may go away for a long time.
Mm.
And I guess if he does, Diddy, I'll be missing you. I will not be missing Diddy, but that's a really bad reference to the one song he did when Biggie Smalls died. I don't know if Austin got that or not, but
I got it. Yes, I got it. That's why I hung my head.
all right. I needed to work that in somewhere. All right, what's
something else that makes me hang my head? The Department of Justice dropped their charges of corruption against New York Mayor Eric Adams. Not because he's not guilty of the corruption. To be clear,
he has not been tried yet.
He has not been tried yet. It wasn't because new evidence came to light that, oh no, we got the wrong guy. It wasn't actually Eric Adams. It was his secretary or nothing like that. Okay. But the Department of Justice ordered federal prosecutors to dismiss the corruption charges against the New York mayor.
And we did a piece on this many months ago when the story first broke. And to refresh people's memory, Eric Adams was charged with bribery and corruption charges. He was accused of taking expensive travel and business travel and opulent hotels from Turkish nationals in exchange for the Turkish consulate in New York City passing certain inspections and flying by alleged code violations. That was the deal. So the Department of Justice brought charges. Eric Adams, of course, denied any wrongdoing. And then Trump takes office. All of a sudden, Trump and Eric Adams become sort of the buddy, and poof, the charges go away. I don't like it. This is dirty politics. Here's the implication is that I think the Trump administration just came out and said it. They said that the prosecution of Eric Adams is interfering with their goal of doing mass deportations in New York City, and Adams complying and assisting with those deportations. So very much a tit for tat kind of thing. And I don't like it. I think it's dirty politics. I think it sets a terrible precedent. I don't think if a politician wants to play ball on this, all of a sudden his wrongdoing goes away. Just to me, it's
insane,
a bad deal.
because there are people in New York who are violent criminals and are here illegally. They should be deported. That's just the law. They should be deported. It shouldn't have anything to do with the mayor and his corruption charges, which, again, he has not presented any evidence that these charges are not true. In fact, we have mountains of evidence to the contrary. And it's insane to me that because he's going along and supporting these deportation efforts, that the Trump administration is like, oh, yeah, no, don't worry. It's okay when people who go along with us accept bribes. But anytime anyone else does, we're not okay with it. It's just ridiculous.
I thought it was crazy when he showed up at Trump's inauguration, all of a sudden favored, honored guest at the inauguration. I'm a pretty conservative guy, but there are a lot of things I don't like about what Trump does and what's going on in the administration. There's a lot of things I do, but this isn't one of them. So
I'm more conservative too. And it's just the same conversation about the pennies. We talked about this stuff too. And I just said to them, I was like, said first that at least we're not as bad as Russia. And I was like, you know what? No, I don't even think that's true. I think we probably are just as bad as Russia, just as bad as Ukraine when it comes to government corruption and money influence in our politics. I think we were just maybe better at hiding it until now, and people just don't really care.
Yeah. So, yeah. I got you. All right. We'll see how that one comes out. It looks like for now, he has the charges dismissed. I think what's really dirty about it, the Trump administration said, oh, we may revive the charges. It's not like he was pardoned.
Yeah.
This is more like, play ball with us, do what we want. You become our pawn.
They can just continue to hold this over his head.
Yeah.
And have influence in New York City now. And I'm sure Trump likes that. Like, he wants New York City to like him because that's where his home is. And I don't know.
He bought a politician. We bought a politician with the power and abuse of our Department of Justice.
And he already knew Eric Adams could be bought because of the corruption.
Yeah, this was an easy target.
It's easy, yeah. You're like, hey, come play with us in addition to the Turkish nationals. Yeah. Okay.
What's the final piece?
Last legal news piece. Federal judge has lifted the pause on the Trump administration's voluntary buyout program for federal employees.
This was minor story. It depends. I guess it depends how interested you are in this kind of stuff. But Elon Musk, Doge, Trump, they decided that they want to get rid of all of the useless abuse and waste in the federal government. And one of the programs that they have is we need to downsize the federal government so everybody gets a buyout. That, I think the buyout was essentially they got this email, fork in the road. If you resign, we'll pay you until September.
Yes.
The unions did not like it. So the labor unions filed a lawsuit, argued it pressured employees into uniform decisions without guaranteed benefits. Initially, the judge froze it and said, yeah, let's hear it out. And then recently, I think within the last couple of days, the court ruled that the union actually lacked the standing and allowed the program to proceed. Here's the legal argument. The legal argument is to have standing, you have to be directly harmed.
Yes.
And the judge said, unions, I don't see how you were directly harmed by this. So I guess the union argument, maybe if they take the buyout, they're going to have less union members. That's an indirect harm, but I buy the judge's argument. What do you think, Austin? You think the unions were harmed?
No, I don't. I don't think unions were harmed at all.
All right. We agree on that. So we're going to see how many of these unions, how many of these federal employees take the buyout and if it really does anything for decreasing the federal workforce. But for now, if you're out there listening to this, you're a federal government employee, you're totally entitled to take that buyout.
I think, just briefly, I think that if you have an issue with the current administration, which a lot of people do, I think if you have an issue with the current administration, then this is a really good thing for you. You should be able to look at it and make an informed decision. If you want to accept this, get paid through September, that sounds where you could go look at it for another. I've read the correspondence, right? You can go start another job. You can go be working at a completely
great deal.
different.
Austin, I love you. You're doing a great job for the firm. But if I were like, okay, I'm going to fire you, but you can resign now and get paid through September.
Yeah, great.
Good. Thank you. So
exactly.
Now there's the differences there. Austin does not have a property right in his job, but
not yet. I have a pending injunction.
Yes. All right. That brings our show to a close. I've been your host, Phil Silverman. Austin Black has been my co-host. Like us, follow us, and review us wherever you get your podcasts. As a reminder, nothing in this show is to be considered legal advice, and this has all been for entertainment purposes only. If you have a legal question, email us at info@silblawfirm.com. That's SILB lawfirm.com. Let us know you want it answered publicly in the podcast. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week and weekend.
Yep. Thanks so much.